So one time, I was sitting in the car with my grandma when she told me she had a small piece of criticism she wanted to give me. Due to my fragile self-esteem at the time, I thought she was going to say that I was ugly or that I smelled bad. But instead, she told me I was monotone and that I should start taking acting lessons. Yeah. At the time, I took this with a grain of salt. My logic is that there are worse things than being monotoned. I could be a psychopath, or a politician, but yeah. Thank you. Thank you. In the United States alone, there are 32 million illiterate adults, 636,000 homeless people, and 10 million people who watch Glee. Let's be real here, it could be worse. So, I never did work on the tonal qualities of my voice, so you could imagine my grandma's horror when I told her I'd be speaking in front of the United Nations last fall. So, 14,000 delegates from 193 countries, all of them listening to me, to my boring, dry, monotone voice, go on and on and on. But good thing I had something interesting to say. But yeah. I was invited to speak at the United Nations Convention of Biological Diversity after a paper I wrote won a research competition. And it was a pretty big deal, and it was absolutely terrifying. But it was also very empowering. Here I was, a sophomore at the College of Charleston, only 19 at the time, talking to the United Nations about this idea I'd come with that applied something called quorum sensing to coral reefs. More on that in a minute. My point is that my idea landed me in a completely different world. And it was very unfamiliar, but it wasn't exactly uncomfortable. I was used to feeling out of place, or at least I've always known I was a little bit different. Growing up, I couldn't eat certain foods because the textures were too overwhelming. I couldn't swim because the feel of water on my skin drove me crazy. And I couldn't touch certain textures like velvet or towels because it was like nails to a blackboard for me. In addition to all this, I wore really strange outfits. So I'm very grateful for my Catholic school for requiring us to wear uniforms. Otherwise, probably wouldn't have had many friends. But in addition to all of this, I told a lot of age-inappropriate humor, and I completely lacked a filter. Growing up, my favorite comedian was George Carlin, and that definitely did not sit well with my mom's boyfriend's in-laws when I met them for the first time. So I still tell a lot of, I'd say, sick jokes, but I like to think I'm more in control of the things that come out of my mouth now. So growing up, you could obviously tell my family's concern for me. And we searched for countless amount of doctors on the East Coast, but it wasn't until we moved to New Mexico that we found the answers we needed for me to get better here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You see, I have Asperger's, and a higher functioning form of autism that impairs the basic social skills one is expected to display. And it makes everyday things that people do without even thinking twice a challenge for me. For a lot of people, that may sound like just a horrible thing, or it's a weakness, a disadvantage, a shortcoming. But for me, it's the opposite. It's a gift, and it has enabled me to make connections between things in science that may have not otherwise been thought of. Like, for example, quorum sensing and coral reefs. So all of this started last year when I went on a study abroad trip to Bali, Indonesia with my class studying tropical ecology. While we were there, we studied the varying qualities of coral reefs, and we learned about a big problem. The coral reefs are dying off, and although there are many reasons why this is happening, the main reason is climate change. I took this matter to heart, and I thought about what I could do to prevent this from causing further destruction. In addition to all of this, during downtime on the trip, I would read pharmacology and neuroscience journals for fun, which was kind of, yeah, something I've been known to do for a while. And I came across a term called quorum sensing. Basically, quorum sensing is a biological process by which bacteria communicates. If you've seen the movie Avatar, you'll remember how all the plants in the forest are communicating with each other through non-scientific hippie life systems, like light and whatnot. So, thank you. So, similarly, perhaps quorum sensing was the way that coral within a coral reef communicated with each other through the bacteria that lives on them. And my idea was that we could recreate or preserve the process of quorum sensing that takes place on the coral, and as a result, maybe sustain their life and preserve the overall biodiversity because they communicate to survive. And about a month later, when I was back at school, my brother Nicholas emailed me about a competition specializing in research on biodiversity. I wrote the paper, Environmental Threats on the Symbiotic Relationship of Quorum Sensing and Coral, and submitted it to the competition. I never dreamed I would win. I never dreamed that the scientific community would be so interested in this and that my paper would be published in Columbia University Sustainable Development Journals. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I definitely never dreamed that I'd be presenting it in front of the United Nations. And if I had, I'd probably take my grandma's criticism more seriously, too. So, yeah. While I was there, I sat in on all the negotiations, trying to absorb as much as possible. And I really got an idea of where the world is in terms of the environment, and also how far we really have to go. And I learned that more now than ever, we need people who think differently. I realized that all these challenges I've had to overcome are a blessing. Our culture has conditioned us to view mental illness and other disabilities as difficult, something we should hide and be ashamed of. But through my life experiences, I know for myself that being different is not a fallback, and that my mind is an asset, and it's a tool that I can use to make this world a better place. And if there's something I can get across in these 6 minutes, it's that this world is in desperate need of creative and intellectual minds to solve complex problems. But before we can do that, we need to build a culture that accepts mental diversity. And I'm a living example that if we give those who think differently a chance, they could contribute things beyond what we can imagine. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.